Good morning, everyone. Going to be taking a walk just below our house and run you through a few of the systems that we have. So this space is not actively managed, and we don't have volunteers here. We don't even live here full time. So that's the house, and right through there at the bottom we've got a 25,000 liter rainwater harvesting tank. So the roof rainwater is stored there. And what we did early last year was to put this pond here. It's a very crude pond, but it does the job. So the 25,000 liter rainwater harvesting tank fills up and then overflows into this crude pond here. The last rains we had was in October, and both tanks obviously filled up. There's an overflow from this pond down the edge there, and it flows down a trench where the grasses are, right through the end to where the biomass is collected. So that's just branches and twigs and leaves, and that's a pit that's about 3 feet deep by 5 feet wide. So that's the overflow, and that's eventually where the water from the pond goes. In terms of water, we're not entirely self-sufficient, but like I said, we don't manage this area actively. It's been planted. It's a pretty classic tropical forest, and we've got a coffee understory. The coffee was planted about 4 or 5 years ago. That's wild mango. So the mango was already here when we came in, and we've just left it. It's not very productive. They're going to take 40 or 50 years to get to their mature canopy size, and we're just leaving it in here because diversity is important. This is jackfruit. There's coffee understory. There's glyricedia there. The tall trees are silver oak or silky oak, and that was already here on site. This pipe here runs the grey water from the house, so the grey water goes into what used to be a banana circle. We've just taken out all the mature bananas, and we're going to be replanting that with a few different species. Again, no one lives here full time, so there's not a full-time run of water into the systems. So yeah, that's a sapota, that's a citrus. We've got different kinds of citrus. That's cashew there. That's a guava here. And as you can see, we don't really actively maintain the place. So like we cut back the grasses, and there's wildflowers growing. That's a touch-me-not. There is coffee, citrus, guava, soursop, which is known as graviola, and quite famous these days as being the miracle cancer plant, but that hasn't been proved yet. It's still very good. It's used a lot in the Caribbean and Latin America. Again, volunteer bananas. We had one here, and now there's a whole bunch of them. Citrus again. This is a sort of wild eggplant or brinjal, really tiny. This one is a natto, and it's called Bixa orellana. It's got a natural dye. The powder in there is used for food coloring and other natural colors. This is a butterfly bush. I don't know what the scientific name is, but you can see the flowers coming out. Lots of pollinators. So yeah, this is an east-facing slope. We've got the beautiful sun coming in, and it gets light for a couple of hours before the sun passes over the house, and then there's a large canopy at the back, so we don't really get full-time light. Like I said, most of this was planted and hasn't been irrigated. There is no care there. We don't really manure it. There's no fertilization. There definitely needs to be some soil building here because the soil is lacking. The fruiting is not as great, but it's pretty amazing if you can just plant fruit and then not have to think about it. Very different from the drylands that I work in. You can see the moon there. We had the full moon 3 days ago, and that's at about 8 a.m. right now. So that's the waning moon, and we'll be going into a new moon. Okay, so this is the lower slope. I showed you what was up there. We've got pepper vines on the trees that don't really get pruned. This is cashew. That the leaf there, purple leaf, is nochi. Again, a great medicinal plant. We've got more citrus here. That's guava. We haven't planted too many exotics, even though we're in the wet, dry tropics. There may be one or two like mangosteen or rambutan just as a trial, but it's mostly native fruits. This is Glyceridia classic, another anato, mango, graviola, soursop, citrus. There's Glyceridia stakes through here. What I did when I came in about 2 years ago was to put in stakes on contour, just so I know later on. So we've got like a sort of line here, and it didn't make sense to do any rainwater harvesting without actually understanding the flow of the water. This is love apple, or sugar, what is it called? Yeah, water apple, love apple. And what's interesting here is actually we've had deer coming in, so it's the samba deer, I think. We've also got barking deer, and you can see they've chewed up the bark. The bark has a taste, and if you look carefully here, yeah, as this, you can see deer poop. That's the pellets. So I think increasingly all of the places around aren't very animal friendly anymore, and we've got more animals coming through, mostly wild boar, rabbits. There's 2 or 3 different kinds of beer. There's supposedly a leopard that comes through sometimes, but you know, seeing is believing. Yeah, here's another fruit tree that the deer got. It's sprouting back though. That's a guava again, where the deer got through it. So these mulch basins happened in the last year. Otherwise, they were really overgrown and the grasses were taking over. So we did come through and do a bit of maintenance, but really they've never been really manured or fertilized. Sometimes it's been a year before anyone's actually come in and had a look. So we need to come in through here with the design, make sure we do some more water harvesting, more diversity. It's, you know, it's got that classic tropic, wet, dry tropic. So this is December. We're going to go into summer now. February will be peak summer, and that's about 3 or 4 months of no rain. And After that, we'll start the monsoons in July. So between April and June, there'll be a few showers, and that's when we can actually come in and say, like, let's get these species in, do the planting, get ready, and wait. And once the rains are done, we can put in more. It really depends on the strategy. Through there is coffee, and that's about 1 acre of coffee. Again, we do go in and clear it a bit, just so that the grasses don't take over, but it's organic and pretty self-managed. It's shade grown, so there's palms, areca nut palms. So yeah, that's just a small tour. I showed you guys the water, so you can see we're playing with gravity. The house has a 25,000 liter tank. This blue sheet here, which is a crude pond, gets the job done. It isn't the best looking, but we've got another 15,000 liters here. That's an overflow from the roof rainwater. This pipe's broken, but this is what lets the pond overflow into a diversion trench here that ends up at the pit with the biomass. This is mango, there's some coffee, all these bushes around are coffee. So yeah, that's what's possible if you work with the natural systems, gravity and slope, the sun. It's not an abundant food forest, so I wouldn't necessarily say that it's, self-sustaining, blah, blah, blah. But we've got incredible diversity here. There's like another dozen shrubs and trees that I don't even know that my parents have put in. So they're medicinal. Quite often people will say they have no value, but they do have value just in terms of diversity. And they are also forest trees, which means they attract a lot of different pollinators, different kinds of birds. And our climate, even within this property, the climate differs from space to space. So this isn't dense, but there is quite a lot of climate control going on. There's a huge difference if you stand here and go into another section of the property, which is just maybe rubber or coffee. So I think it's an experiment within an experiment, and we'll keep working on it. This year, we'd like to actively plant more trees. The deer are the only problem, and we don't necessarily want to work against the animals. It's not. It doesn't make sense. So I think putting citrus in is a good idea. Putting in trees that they may not eat is a good idea. Gonna have to work on the species list. There's bamboo there at the far end, so that's what's poking out. There's a coconut palm through there, and that's it. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. This is the first time I've actually done this sort of a live feed, but I thought I'd do it on my morning walk. So yeah, have a great day.